Hello, welcome to episode 39, Rule of the Octave, part 3. Gonna try it in a minor key this time. Start with a little soapbox. Minor keys are, when you're first learning about minor keys, you're gonna learn about these two relationships, relative keys and parallel keys. The more important one conceptually for you is parallel. Learning a parallel key is better. All that is just an explanation of why I'm going to do this in the key of C minor. If you're a kind of beginner at music theory, you tend to do everything in C major, and that's why I think a good first minor key to start digging deeper into is C minor, because then you can see how minor works in comparison to major. Minor keys are a lot different. They're a little more complicated. They have some more like flexibility. There's no like super simple version of a minor key just in the way a major key has. There's almost always adjusted notes in a minor key. Not that you can't adjust notes in any mode, but okay. So rule the octave. What we want to do is harmonize a descending minor scale or an ascending minor scale. Let's start with a descending scale. That's easier. Now, speaking of minor issues, which version of the minor scale, right? So I'm using a natural minor scale here. With a te and a lay instead of a t and a la or a t and a lay or whatever, because we're moving downwards and we don't need the leading tone. And lay, you should always leave your lay a lay unless you have to change it if you want it to sound like a regular minor key. Okay. Let's make some easy decisions, right? You remember our rules for rule of the octave. Number one rule, maybe. I don't remember the order I went in. Better to think of them as values. I think I had this talk. It's really been a while. Sorry about that break there. Coronavirus and stuff. Not that I had the COVID, I'm saying. Though maybe I did, I don't know. But I don't know. I had a hard time getting stuff done during that time. Okay, values. Project the tonic. Great way to do that. Just make sure you start on the tonic. Make sure you end on the tonic. And make sure you end on something that really sounds like it wants to go to tonic. That'd probably be some kind of dominant seventh chord, like a 5-4-3 chord maybe. It could also be maybe a 7-6 chord. I'll wait to fill it in when I get there. No, actually, let's do it now. Actually, let's not. Let's start at the beginning. I'm going to just make a C minor chord. How about like that? Now, there's this little formula you find a lot in, especially in Baroque music. This here, this little chunk here, some people call it a lament bass. In modern times, I've heard people call it a torch song bass. There's a million songs that have this kind of bass line. Hit the Road Jack, great example. And there's so many ways to harmonize it. This is one of the really popular old ways to harmonize this, and it still sounds good today. Notice I have here a minor dominant. It's a minor 5 chord, and by being minor, it kind of makes it not act dominant at all. So it's kind of dumb to call it minor dominant, but that's what we call it. It's not acting like a dominant. I'm going to take advantage of going from a consonance to a consonance to leap. Whenever you're kind of like doing these exercises like this, it can kind of sound unmusical if you just are always wandering around by step. But you usually can stay out of trouble by making sure when you do leap, it's from consonants to consonants. And so I'm going to start like this and then like this. Let's hear that so far. I got this. And then I took this F out so I wouldn't have parallel octaves. And I don't really like the sound of having this A flat there. Remember, it's keyboard style. You're allowed to do that. Also, I should say, when we're doing stuff like rule of the octave, partimenti type stuff, these old ways of learning about music, it's not a bad thing to focus on voice leading, but you're missing the point if you get too caught up in the voice leading. These are kind of like a model of how a harmony can go that presumably if you were going to like use in an actual, compositional setting, you would flesh out a little more and, it's save your voice leading decisions for when it counts. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, this right here, this is a pretty normal way for this lament bass to get harmonized, something like this. So you'll notice 5 chord go into a 4 chord. We're not really used to that, but look, it's not a dominant chord. What we're doing is moving in parallel 6/3 chords, right? First inversion triads. And in classical music style, Baroque musical style, and their style of voice leading, you can just move as much as you want in parallel 6/3 chords. In fact, if we wanted, we could do this rule of the octave all the way down in parallel 6/3 chords, and it wouldn't be totally outside of the style. It would sound something like this. Hold on. Yeah, all 6 chords, all the way down. So the way I just played it, I did a 3/6, a 2/6, a 1/6, a 7/6, and then I went to the tonic. It's kind of boring, so we're not going to do it that way, and it's kind of cheating. Just know you can move from 6 chord to 6 chord as much as you want. That's in the style. This particular way happens all the time, and I want to call attention to something about it, just to keep in your mind for the future. The way this 4 chord moves to this 5 chord is something some people call a Phrygian half cadence. We haven't talked about that in this blog yet, but maybe you've heard about it if you're not here from scratch. I'm not going to get into the dumb reason why it's called Phrygian, but just know that this kind of half cadence where a lay goes to a sol, and then on top of it somewhere a fa goes to a sol. The lay and fa forming a 6th or a compound 6th, and the sol and sol forming an octave. That 6th spreading out to an octave on sol onto a dominant chord in a half cadence is something we call a Phrygian half cadence. Later on, we're going to learn about a kind of chord called an augmented 6th chord, where all we would do is raise that F to an F sharp and turn that into some sort of augmented 6th chord. We might call it an Italian augmented 6th. Something like that. Just keep that in your mind for the future. That's why I put it in pink. The future is pink. I don't know if you knew that. Hey, you know what's really easy? Let's just repeat this G chord. But let's change the voicing. So that would turn this into a 5/4-2 chord. 5/4-2 chords are, I don't know, in classical music, they're one of the most pleasing chords because they're inevitable. As soon as I hit this 5/4-2 chord, I know what's next, because here's the chordal 7th. It has to go down, and it does, to an E flat. The place where it had to go is a 1/6 chord. That's just how it had to work. And let's have this voiced like that. And then we'll just flesh it out. Let's do a 5/4-3 chord here. And let's voice it like so. And the B was already natural. So all together we have this. It's a really great way to do it. Notice how it's a little harder in minor, right? We had to do this kind of weird thing that doesn't follow our normal harmonic syntax rules. There's probably some other ways to do it. One of the ways is to like go more gently, like first put a B natural and then a B flat, and then an A natural and then an A flat. And that way it's like you do a normal thing and then change it. Normal thing, change it. Like a normal 5/6 chord, change it to a little 5/6. A normal 4/6 chord, change it to a little 4/6. There's all kinds of ways to like palliate it, but this is just a great example of what I'm always saying, that minor is more complicated. In minor keys, there's some oddities that you just don't run into in major, and one is this. Let's try an ascending one. We're running out of time, so I'll try and move a little faster here. An ascending scale. So now we're going to use what you may have learned as the ascending form of the melodic minor scale. So do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So we have the raised, submedian, and the leading tone because we're leading back to tonic, right? We want to project tonic. Great way to do that always is to end on it, start on it if possible. You can kind of even look through and make sure all your mays are a 1/6. That's very tonic-y. You might be tempted to go get your sol and turn it into a 1/6/4. But remember, 6/4 chords aren't stable. They don't project tonic. In fact, if you put a C minor chord over a G here, it would sound more dominant than tonic, and it would mess everything up. Just don't do it. Trust me. Okay. Again, let's at least make a couple decisions. We should probably end with something dominant-y that goes to tonic to reinforce that relationship. You can always do a chord in here. There's a couple options, a 5/4/2 chord or a 7/6 chord. Let's keep it simple and do a 7/6 chord this time. Or sorry, a 5/4/3 chord. I misspoke. That would also work there. And I'm just going to kind of look ahead here. Maybe I can like get to a 5 chord on this sol. And so here's a 1/6 chord. I can go straight to a 2/6 chord. 2 is diminished in minor. This is kind of weird, but you'll honestly find this kind of harmonization in Bach. A 5 chord go into a 4/6 chord. That isn't really totally outside of our normal harmonic language. I think I've mentioned this before. People talk about a deceptive cadence or a deceptive resolution of a 5 chord to a 6 chord or to a big 6 chord. So that is like if you're in the key of C minor going to an A flat chord instead of going back to C. So the dominant resolves to like a fake tonic. A 4/6 chord can serve that same purpose. You'll find it in Brahms likes it. There's this one Brahms intermezzo that like is all about it. Okay, who cares? Let's go. C minor chord. Let's start like this time. And let's do just some pretty standard stuff. Anytime you're harmonizing do, re, mi, or do, re, mi, or mi, re, do, or me, re, do, it should start getting super automatic, right? These happen all the time. I'm doing it in voice exchange, so this one went C, D, E flat, this one on E flat, D, C. We like that. That's very much just part of the style. I'm going to voice this 2/6 chord like so. I'm going to voice this chord like this. The B is already natural. I'm going to do this F chord. I'm going to drop a note to help with my voice leading. Remember, when you're in keyboard style, that's fine. And everything else kind of writes itself there. Let's see what it sounds like. Nice, that sounded all right to me. So notice this one is like, has a little almost embedded progression in it. We could almost say, here's a little tiny embedded progression. Here's a little progression, and here's like a tonic substitute. So at another level, here's all tonic. Does that make sense? I hope so. I only have 20 seconds. This one is hard to explain, but we're going to count this all as tonic, dominant, tonic, and then on the next level, tonic, dominant, tonic. So that it's one phrase at the bottom level. And there you have it. A rule of the octave as it works in a minor key. Goodbye.